You arrive at the Topkapi Harem in the dim glow of late afternoon. The sun bleeds through stained glass, casting fractured patterns on the tiled floor beneath your feet. You're 16. You don't speak the language. You don't know the rules. All you have is the thin silk robe they gave you and a name no one will use again. Behind you, the great wooden door closes with a sound that feels final, like a book being shut before you've read the first page. The eunuch who escorts you doesn't speak. His steps are slow, deliberate, as if walking through water. The air smells of cardamom and old incense. You pass other girls, but none meet your eyes. None smile. You feel like you've wandered into a temple where you are both worshiper and offering. Finally, he stops. You're standing at the threshold of a narrow room where silence hums louder than words. The eunuch turns and speaks, for the first time his voice a whisper wrapped in centuries of dust. In this place, speaking can kill you, but silence might keep you alive. You don't yet know what he means, but you will. Not through language, through scent, through gestures, through looks held too long, and breaths held too tightly. Because in this world, women don't speak with voices. They speak with shadows. They don't teach you to speak. They teach you to smell. In the first week, you're led into a chamber lined with tiny bottles, crystal, porcelain, ivory. Each one contains oil, thick, golden, and ancient. You're told nothing aloud. Instead, the matron dabs a drop of musk behind your ear, steps back, and watches. When you flinch, she smiles not with kindness, but with recognition. You're beginning to understand. Every woman in the harem carries a scent, not for beauty, not for pleasure, but for identification, for communication. Jasmine means purity, amber means desire, rose is for mourning, oud is for danger. You learn to read the air the way others read lips. Who walked past? Who the sultan favored? Who is bleeding? You are given your first oil on the 7th day. It's bitter, sharp coriander and cloves. You hate it. But the matron insists. It suits your silence, she says. And that is that. From now on, your body will speak before your lips ever do. You learn to blend, to mask, to warn. One extra drop of rose on a handkerchief left near another girl's bed, a silent apology. A spritz of cinnamon left on the sultan's favorite cushion. A challenge. Scent is not decoration here. It is strategy. It is survival. There is a girl named Aylin, whose fragrance is always lavender and lemon light, forgettable. No one pays her much attention, but you notice that she never gets summoned, never gets punished, never gets involved. One night, you find her alone in the bathhouse, quietly dripping sandalwood into her washcloth. She looks at you, finger pressed to her lips. You say nothing, but you understand. Her scent is a lie. The sultan never asks for a name. He never looks at your face, but he always remembers your scent. You could scream, and he wouldn't remember your voice. But if you walked past him in a corridor a year from now, he'd stop, close his eyes, and say, "Clove." That's the first rule of the Ottoman Harem. You do not speak with your tongue. You speak with your skin. You're given one scarf, silk, bone-white, square-shaped. At first, it feels like a gift, something soft to hold on to in a world that offers nothing soft. But then you learn this cloth is not for warmth. It's a sentence, a signal, a scream that makes no sound. On your second week, you watch an older concubine. Her name is Hurrem. Though no one dares say it aloud, fold her scarf in a slow triangle and place it by her door. Minutes later, 2 guards arrive and take her away. You don't see her for days. When she returns, she walks with a limp and never folds anything again. You ask no questions. You only observe. Each fold has meaning. A tight roll placed under a pillow means fear. A twist and knot left on a doorknob means refusal. A flat fold, crease facing out, means readiness. The harem is a library of cloth messages tucked beneath cushions, under food trays, in the sleeves of sleeping gowns. And if you fold the wrong way, someone bleeds. Your first mistake comes quietly. You fold your scarf too neatly, corners aligned, edges perfect, and leave it on your mattress. You think nothing of it. Until a eunuch enters without knocking, eyes narrowed, fingers curled. You asked to be summoned. He says coldly, "You didn't." But your fabric did. From then on, you hesitate before every fold. You stare at the silk and ask it, silently, what it's about to say. The scarf becomes your diary, your cry for help, your only voice. You begin to understand why the older girls run their fingers across linen as if reading Braille. Every crease carries a code. One evening, a girl named Esma folds hers into a small rectangle and tucks it into your slipper. You unfold it slowly. Inside is a single strand of black thread, stitched down the center. You don't know what it means. Not yet. But your stomach turns anyway. 2 nights later, she's gone. Her bed stripped, her name erased. You never fold your scarf the same way twice after that. Every night, it trembles in your hands. Because now you know in the harem, even silk has teeth. You are told his name once, just once, when you arrive. Then it is erased. From that moment on, no one in the harem speaks it aloud. Not the concubines, not the eunuchs, not even the head matron who once rocked him as a baby. He is not the sultan. He is not my lord. He is not his majesty. He is simply he, or the shadow of Allah on earth, or, more often, nothing at all, just a bowed head and the quiet shifting of silk beneath knees. To say his name is to presume familiarity, and familiarity, here, is the same as blasphemy. The first girl you see punished for it is New Albanian, young, still soft in the face. She whispers his name behind her hand, laughing nervously as she tries to remember how to pronounce it. The sound doesn't even finish echoing off the stone walls before 2 eunuchs step forward. She vanishes before you learn her scent. No one mentions her again. But that night, someone leaves a scarf at your door folded into a perfect triangle, the crease facing inward. Warning. You begin to understand that his power is not just in his presence, but in his absence, in the way everyone speaks around him. No one addresses him directly. Instead, they speak to the air, to the corners of the room, to the hem of their own robes. Words curl like incense, careful, reverent, afraid of catching fire. Even your body must obey the unspoken code. You are never to face him unless summoned, never to breathe too loudly in his presence, and when he enters, you do not rise, you sink. Knees first, head down, hands out, empty. They teach you that calling him by name would be like naming the moon. You don't summon a god by speaking. You surrender by silence. And yet, every woman here dreams of being remembered by him, by the man whose name they dare not say. A paradox stitched into every breath you take. Because in the harem, the less you name him, the more he owns you. Meals in the harem are not for nourishment. They are for reading. You learn this the hard way your first dinner among the others, seated on embroidered cushions around a low copper tray. You reach for bread with your right hand, smile awkwardly, and ask if the soup is lentil. 4 heads snap toward you. No one answers. No one chews. Silence swells like steam. You've broken a rule you didn't even know existed. No speaking during meals. not even whispers. Instead, you observe. Fingers replace voices. A pinky brushed across the rim of a bowl means, leave me alone. A thumb pressed to the corner of the mouth means, I'm in danger tonight. You learn to recognize codes in how olives are arranged on a plate, how flatbread is torn neatly for submission, jagged for resistance. You begin to eat slower, not out of politeness, but calculation. Even the spices carry intent. A sprinkle of sumac on someone's rice can mean envy. A rose petal slipped beside a cup of sherbet regret. Every flavor speaks, every silence shouts. No one looks at the Sultan's seat, even when it's empty. Especially when it's empty. One evening, a girl named Niloufer sits beside you. She moves her bowl slightly, lets a single chickpea roll across the tray, and stop near your wrist. When you glance at her, she doesn't blink. Her expression is stone. But in her eyes, there is something sharp. That night, she is summoned. 2 days later, she returns with bandages beneath her sleeves. You begin to understand the meal is not food, it is theater. Everyone is performing. You learn to move your cup in time with the others, to chew when they chew, to drink only after someone of higher rank does, to leave 3 grains of rice uneaten as a sign of humility, to never, under any circumstance, eat the last bite of anything. One girl forgets a fig, small, ripe, sweet. She reaches for it too quickly. That night, the Sultan ignores her, for weeks, until her scent fades, and her name fades with it. In the harem, dining is not about hunger. It is about reading the room without glancing up. It is about surviving with your mouth full and your voice gone. Because here, even the act of chewing must be submissive. They encourage you to sing, not for pleasure, not for art, but because it's safer than speaking. Each afternoon, during the golden lull between duties and nightfall, girls are summoned to the courtyard to sing. It seems innocent. Voices rise like perfume into the fig trees, soft and practiced. But beneath each melody lies a second layer, a code carved into cadence, meaning hidden inside melody. You notice it first with Zeynep. Her voice is velvet, trained, flawless. But one day, her lullaby stumbles on a single note, just one syllable stretched too long, too sharp. The air stills. The matron stiffens. That night, Zeynep doesn't eat. The day after, she sings nothing at all. You learn quickly. Stretching vowels means sorrow. Dropping your pitch on a major chord is fear. Repeating the same stanza 3 times signals danger. These are messages not meant for men, but for each other. A song about a caged nightingale means someone tried to escape. A melody that circles the same phrase, someone's being watched. A note held too long on the word home. She misses something she's not allowed to name. You begin to hum when you're alone, not for comfort, but communication. In the baths, you hum 2 lines from an old folk song. The girl beside you adds the third. Neither of you look at each other, but in that moment, you are not alone. Sometimes, the Sultan listens, but he never hears. To him, it's background decoration, like fountains and silk. He doesn't know the pain you've woven into every stanza, that his concubines are turning lullabies into rebellion. One night, you're summoned to perform. You kneel, you sing, the melody is perfect, but just before the final verse, you drop your voice 1 step lower, barely noticeable. But the girls watching, they know. You've just said, I don't belong to him entirely. You return to your chamber untouched, but on your pillow, someone has left a folded scarf crease facing inward. You're not alone. They heard you. In the harem, a song is never just a song. It's a secret folded in sound. A cry tucked inside beauty. A message only the silenced can understand. You're told to choose a headscarf each morning, At first, it feels like a privilege, like a decision that still belongs to you. You run your fingers over silk dyed in saffron, indigo, ivory. But the older girls don't choose based on beauty. They choose based on survival. Slowly, you begin to see it. Every color is a message. Every shade is a sentence no one dares speak aloud. White means surrender. It says, I am obedient. I am safe. Red is worn by those on edge nights without sleep, bodies marked in places that robes can hide. Blue is for sorrow, not dramatic grief, but the quiet kind, the type that settles behind the eyes and doesn't leave. Gold is favor, not happiness, just proximity to power. And black. Black means loss. Sometimes a child, sometimes a friend, sometimes simply yourself. You remember the first time you made a mistake. You wore green, thinking of spring, of home, of innocence. The matron pulled you aside. Her words were soft, but her grip was not. Green is not yours yet, she said. Unless you're prepared to challenge someone for the Sultan's attention, you weren't. That night, you folded the scarf into the deepest part of your drawer and never touched it again. Soon, the colors begin to haunt your dreams. You dream of violet scarves left on windowsills, symbols of love unreturned. You dream of crimson ones folded too tightly, as if trying to strangle the silk itself. You begin to recognize meanings no one ever told you. A scarf tied with a knot at the corner means danger. A scarf worn slightly crooked means someone is lying. Every choice becomes a confession. One morning, you wake to find a purple scarf laid gently at the foot of your mattress. No name, no note. You hesitate, then wear it. The moment you step into the corridor, everything shifts. Girls glance, a eunuch pauses. Purple means memory. It means mourning something you can't speak of. That evening, a quiet eunuch brings you tea steeped with rose petals. No questions, just acknowledgement. Someone heard. There's a hidden space beneath the bathhouse tiles where the girls keep forbidden scarves, colors no longer allowed. Yellow for defiance, gray for emptiness, pink for affection. You touch them with reverence, the way one touches graves. Each one belonged to a girl who wore her heart too openly. Each one is a warning. Now, when you choose with care. Some days you wear black, not because you're grieving, but because you want others to remember. Some days you wear blue because silence is safer than attention. You fold your scarf slowly, with intention, because here in the harem, you don't speak with your mouth. You speak with color and pray that no one misunderstands. They warn you early before your first summoning, before your first night behind the curtains of cedar and gold. Do not look him in the eye. At first, you think it's about respect, but later, you understand it's about power and fear. Eye contact is intimacy, and in the harem, intimacy is forbidden. If you look directly into his eyes, you risk being seen not as a vessel, not as a body, but as a person. And the Sultan cannot afford to see you that way. If he sees the flicker of doubt, of sorrow, of rage inside you, he might hesitate, and he cannot afford hesitation. You are taught to lower your gaze not to the floor, but just beneath his chin, not too low, or you'll seem insolent, not too high, or you'll seem defiant, just there, hovering, as if seeing but not really. Performing submission with precision, your pupils become trained, rehearsed, choreographed. There is a girl Afsane who forgets, just once. During a moment of stillness, she lifts her eyes and meets his. It lasts less than a breath. But that night, she is sent to the lower kitchens, not as punishment, as reminder. She spends months cleaning blood from the stones beneath the hammam. When she returns, her gaze never lifts higher than her own hands. You practice in your chamber. You look into the mirror and try to remove expression, to soften your glance into something blank, something invisible. It's harder than it sounds. Your eyes betray you when your lips do not. They remember too much. They want to ask questions. They want to be known. Some girls go further. They train themselves to blink less, to blur their vision just enough to see without seeing. One, you hear, used to stare at candlelight until her eyes watered, teaching them to weep on command, to conceal fear behind false emotion. You realize one night when the Sultan brushes past your cheek without looking that what terrifies him is not your body, but your gaze, because it reflects back the thing he doesn't want to admit, that the throne does not make him a god, that beneath the robes and titles, he is just a man, a lonely, watching man. And if you forget this rule, if you meet his eyes too long, you are not punished for disrespect. You are punished for equality, because in the harem, your eyes are your rebellion, and rebellion here is never forgiven. The first time you hear silence scream is not in punishment but in pleasure. You are summoned one evening to wait in the perfumed antechamber outside his quarters. Two girls are already inside. You sit motionless on the cushion, eyes lowered, but your ears are wide open. What you hear is nothing. No gasps, no laughter, not even breathing. Just the soft creak of silk, the shift of weight, and then, suddenly, a sound, a quiet whimper, barely a breath. The sound of a girl forgetting the rule. The eunuch appears within seconds. A door closes, a voice muffled. You never see that girl again. They tell you early. You do not speak unless spoken to. You do not cry out. You do not exist. Inside the Sultan's bedchamber, your voice belongs to him. He decides when you may moan, sigh, beg, or weep. Your body is not yours, but more than that, your reaction isn't either. If you respond on your own, you've stepped outside the role. You've broken the illusion that he controls everything, including your breath. So you learn to hold it. Your breath, your voice, your shame. You learn to tense at the right moment, release only when commanded. Some girls bite their tongues until they bleed. Others dissociate entirely, retreating into numbers, memories, or imagined landscapes. Anything to make their silence perfect. The Sultan, they say, enjoys the performance of control. He may spend hours not in the pursuit of pleasure, but in the pursuit of dominance, testing how long a girl can remain mute through pain or tension. It is not intimacy he craves. It is submission. If he can extract a sound from you without your permission, he believes he has mastered you. Some girls snap. They lose their ability to speak at all, even outside his chambers. You see them wandering the gardens like shadows, lips moving, but no sound escaping. They've become so fluent in silence that they cannot remember how to return. One night, you feel it coming, a sob rising, uninvited, raw. You swallow it, dig your nails into your own palm. You imagine drowning. You imagine stone. Anything but the sound. You survive. Barely. But the silence stains you. Because in the harem, to cry out is not to be heard, it is to disappear. And silence, once mastered, becomes the only voice you are allowed to keep. His emotions change faster than the wind through the palace trees, and yours must follow instantly, perfectly, without hesitation. You are not allowed your own weather. If he wakes in fury, you must become a shadow, quiet, small, barely visible. If he enters laughing, you must smile just enough to reflect joy, but never so much that it seems you're laughing at him. If he grieves, you must mourn with him, but softly, subtly. A tear too bold can be seen as mockery, a blank face insult, You learn to read his moods the way sailors read tides, watching every twitch in his brow, every pause in his breath. When his shoulders rise, you lower your own. When he sighs, you wait half a heartbeat before sighing too. It becomes a dance, one where he leads and you must anticipate every unspoken step. Misstep, and you fall out of favor. Misread, and you fall into punishment. The older girls teach you how to listen for tone, not words, how to tilt your head at the right angle, how to fold your hands in sorrow without truly feeling sorrow. Some say it's like being an actress, but it's more brutal than performance. Because here, the stage is real, and the cost of breaking character is not lost applause, it is isolation, or worse. You meet one girl, Layla, whose talent was uncanny. She could mirror him before he even changed. When he was angry, she was already trembling. When he was bored, she became excitement. The Sultan adored her. Until, one day, he accused her of sorcery, said no one could know him that well unless they were hiding something. She vanished that same night. So now, you learn to be slightly imperfect, to delay your reaction by a breath, to appear responsive, but not too knowing. You become a mirror that blurs slightly enough to reflect, never enough to challenge. Because in the harem, you are not a person with emotions. You are a surface for his to bounce off of, and if he ever sees your true feeling behind your eyes, he will shatter the mirror just to be sure it's never watching him back. Memory in the harem is a double-edged blade. You are expected to recall every detail of your encounters with the Sultan, what pleased him, what silenced him, what bored him, the way his fingers paused mid-air before touching silk, the exact moment his voice dropped, the sequence of every ritual, who poured the sherbet, who removed his boots, who was called first. You must remember it all. But the moment you leave his chamber, you must forget. Wipe it clean. Speak of it to no one, not even to yourself. If you recall a moment too vividly, you risk appearing obsessed. If you forget a detail in front of him, you risk being dismissed. The line between devotion and danger is razor thin. So you learn the art of compartmentalization, creating invisible shelves in your mind, locking memories behind silk-lined doors, swallowing keys made of silence. The older women teach you tricks, assign numbers to gestures. Imagine each encounter as a story told backward, so it's harder to relive. Some girls keep secret codes stitched into the hems of their robes, color threads woven like prayers read for shame, silver for laughter, black for fear. It's how they track their own history when their mouths are sewn shut by custom. One girl, Yasemin, could recall every word he'd spoken to her for 3 years. She could mimic his tone, quote his questions. For a while, she was favored. Then one night, she recited a sentence he didn't remember saying. His pride bruised. He called it a lie. By morning, she was gone. Her room emptied before sunrise. Her scent, jasmine and rain, scrubbed from every cushion. You learn to practice selective amnesia, to smile when he repeats a story you've heard 3 times, to blush when he touches you the same way he touched another yesterday. Your body becomes a diary no one is allowed to read, not even you. The pain stays, but the reason for it blurs. That's how it must be. Because in the harem, memory is your only armor and your most dangerous weapon. And if you carry too much of it for too long, it will betray you from the inside out. Now, as you walk the same marble corridors where your silence first learned to breathe, you pass younger girls with wide eyes and quiet hands, just as you once were. You see their scarves, their folded linens, the way they pause before choosing a song. You hear it in the hush that falls before dinner, in the glances exchanged when no one else is watching. They don't speak it yet, but they're listening. You wonder how many of them will survive long enough to pass it on. This secret language, this system of signals, of restraint, of choreography and pain disguised as grace, you know it now by heart. Not because you wanted to, but because it was the only way to remain whole in a place that demanded your disintegration. You've become fluent in absence, in smiling without feeling, in breathing without being heard. And when the next girl kneels before you, trembling, scarf in hand, waiting to learn what words she cannot say, you will teach her. Because in the Ottoman Harem, the language of women was never written down. It lived in the silk, the scent, the silence. And it will survive not because anyone remembered to record it, but because none of you were ever truly allowed to forget. If this story made you see history in a way you've never seen before, like, subscribe, and comment with the word whisper to show you heard what history tried to silence. There are more voices waiting, and they are still speaking, even now.